Okay, so let's unpack this. Have you ever seen how, like a tiny spark, it can just suddenly become this huge bonfire?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really just a misunderstanding, maybe a bit of bruised ego.
And things just blow up.
Exactly. They escalate. And what's really interesting is, well, this can happen even in, spiritual communities.
Absolutely.
Today, we've got this fantastic story that shows this perfectly. There's a respected monk, a really generous lay supporter,
Okay.
a sort of kerfuffle over sesame seed cakes, of all things.
Sesame seed cakes. Right.
Yeah. And then this whole journey towards reconciliation guided by the Buddha himself.
That's right. So in this deep dive, we're exploring a really compelling narrative. It's from ancient Buddhist texts and actually came from you, our listener.
Oh, great.
And it really gets to the heart of how ego and generosity play off each other and that path to understanding. Well, it can be pretty bumpy sometimes. Our key figures are Sudhammatthera, who's a monk living in a monastery, and Sita, a layperson whose devotion is. Well, it's quite remarkable.
So let's set the scene a bit. We're talking about Jetavana Monastery, right? A super important place where the Buddha taught a lot.
A major center, yes. But the story itself, the incident, it actually kicks off in a town called Macchikāsaṇḍa.
Okay, Macchikāsaṇḍa. Then it moves towards Sāvatthī later.
Exactly. And it's in Macchikāsaṇḍa that Sita's journey really deepens. He meets a monk, Mahanama, who's on his alms round.
Right.
And Sita's just so moved by this monk's presence. He invites him home, gives him food, listens really closely to his teachings.
And this is a big moment for him.
It's huge, a real turning point. This encounter leads him to attain the Sotapati fruit. You can think of it as like his first major spiritual breakthrough.
Stream entry, right. So his faith becomes unshakable after this.
Precisely. And Sita, he doesn't stop there. He's inspired. She decides he wants to build a monastery, a Sagarama.
Wow.
Right there in his own garden, the Ambanta garden. And there's this symbolic act where he pours water into the hands of a senior monk to dedicate it.
Okay.
And get this right, at that moment, the earth trembles.
Whoa. Really?
Yeah. Seen as this powerful sign, that the Buddha's teachings were really taking root there. And he goes on to build quite a large monastery, open to monks coming from anywhere.
That's incredible generosity. And it has this ripple effect, signified by the earth tremor.
It absolutely does. This initial act of giving, creating the monastery, it really sets the stage for understanding Sita. It highlights that theme of selfless giving right away.
Okay, so we have Sita, this incredibly devoted and generous figure. Now let's bring in the other main character, Sudhammatthera.
Right. He's a resident monk, a Navasiko, living there in Macchikāsaṇḍa, part of the established community.
So he's kind of the local monk on the scene.
Exactly. He's rooted there. Right. And sometime later, word gets out about Sita. His virtues, his incredible generosity, it spreads.
People start talking about him.
And eventually, two of the Buddha's chief disciples hear about him and decide to pay Sita a visit.
The top monks, like Sariputta and Mahamoggalana.
The very ones, they want to acknowledge his contributions, maybe offer some guidance.
And Sita must have been thrilled.
Over the moon, as you said. He hears they've arrived, goes out to greet them really warmly, travels quite a way, actually.
Yay, makes a real effort.
Definitely. And he asks Sariputta to give a Dhamma talk. After the talk, Sita, who by now has reached an even higher stage, Anagami, a non-returner.
Wow, so further along the path.
Yes. He invites the two chief disciples and, get this, 1,000 other monks for a meal the next day.
1,000, that's a massive offering.
It really shows his continued devotion, doesn't it? His desire to support the Sangha on a grand scale. But here's where the friction starts.
Okay. The plot thickens.
Sita also extends an invitation to Sudhammatthera, the local resident monk.
And Sudhammatthera's reaction is not great.
Not great is putting it mildly. He gets angry, really angry. He feels slighted.
Why? Because of the order of invitation?
Exactly. He thinks he was invited last, almost like an afterthought.
Oh, dear.
And in his anger, he just flat out refuses the invitation.
Seriously. A chance to join this amazing feast with the chief disciples, and he turns it down because his pride is hurt.
Incredible, isn't it? It throws him completely off balance.
What do you think was going on there? Just pride? Or something deeper?
Well, that's a great question. It's fascinating, isn't it? How even someone, dedicated to spiritual practice could react so strongly.
Right.
Perhaps being a long-term resident monk, he maybe felt he had a certain seniority.
Like an expectation.
Yeah, an expectation of being sort of recognized first, That perceived order might have triggered feelings of being overlooked, maybe undervalued.
It shows how deep that sense of self and status can run, even on the spiritual path.
It really does. So anyway, the next day arrives. Siddha is busy, obviously, preparing this incredible feast. 1,000 monks plus the chief disciples.
Huge undertaking.
Immense. But guess who shows up at Siddha's house that morning?
Not Sudhammatthera, after refusing.
The very same. Despite his anger the day before, it seems, well, curiosity got the better of him.
He wanted to see what was going on.
Seems like it. Wanted to see the arrangements, maybe what Siddha was doing for these important guests. It's like he couldn't quite stay away.
Interesting, that internal conflict you mentioned.
Yes, exactly. His anger is still there, you can tell, but he's compelled to witness it. Maybe part of him knows he's missing out, even if his pride won't let him admit it.
And does he just quietly observe? Or...
Oh, no. He doesn't arrive in a spirit of, let's say, humble curiosity. Siddha politely invites him to sit down.
Okay.
Sudhammatthera refuses. Says he's only there for alms.
Which seems like a bit of an excuse, given the massive feast being prepared.
A pretty flimsy one, yeah. And then he starts sort of observing everything, looking at the preparations for the chief disciples, almost like he's inspecting it all.
Looking for fault, maybe?
It certainly seems that way. His behavior is quite pointed. And then we get the sesame seed cakes.
Ah, yes, the infamous sesame seed cakes. What does he say?
Right. So, wanting to take a little dig at Siddha, he remarks that, well, the offering is grand, very impressive, but it's lacking one thing.
Let me guess.
Sesame seed cakes. Tilasagutaka.
Wow. Such a small thing to criticize in the face of such generosity.
It sounds small, but the way he says it, it clearly carries this critical edge. Like, yeah, it's good, but you missed something. Not perfect.
Ouch. And Siddha, who's put so much heart into this.
Understandably feels stung.
Yeah.
He feels belittled. The text even uses this image, like being compared to a crow, to show how demeaned Siddha felt.
That's harsh. And does Sudhammatthera stop there?
Nope. Things escalate fast. Sudhammatthera, probably fueled by his pride, maybe wanting to assert some kind of authority,
Uh-oh.
he declares that Siddha's residence is now his, and he's leaving.
Wait, what? He claims Siddha's house.
That's what the text says. It's a bizarre power move, and then he just storms off, even though Siddha asks him 3 times to please stay.
Unbelievable. All this drama over perceived slice and sesame seed cakes.
It really shows the destructive power of that unchecked ego, doesn't it? How quickly small things can spiral. His reaction seems so out of proportion.
Totally. Suggests deeper issues, like you said, pride, maybe entitlement.
So Sudhammatthera, still fuming, goes straight to the Buddha.
To complain.
To report the incident, yes. But you can bet he tells the story in a way that makes Siddha look like the bad guy.
Of course. Looking for validation. Wants the Buddha to take his side in the great sesame seed cake dispute.
Exactly. But the Buddha, well, he sees right through it. With his wisdom, he understands immediately what happened.
He knows Sudhammatthera is in the wrong.
Instantly recognizes Sudhammatthera's mistake, that he slighted this incredibly devoted lay supporter. And he tells Sudhammatthera directly.
Does he just tell him off? Or is there more?
There's more. The Buddha imposes what's called a parasaranya kama on him.
What's that exactly?
Think of it like a formal censure, a consequence within the monastic community for his actions. It's serious.
Okay.
And then the Buddha tells him, go back to Siddha, seek his forgiveness.
Right, so second time's the charm.
Well, not quite. Sudhammatthera does go back. He apologizes to Siddha, but it doesn't work.
Siddha doesn't forgive him, why not?
The text doesn't explicitly state why, but maybe the apology wasn't, fully genuine yet. Or maybe Siddha's hurt was still too raw.
Could be either, I guess.
Whatever the reason, Siddha refuses forgiveness. So Sudhammatthera had to trudge back to the Buddha. Mission failed.
Awkward. So what does the Buddha do now?
The Buddha, knowing Siddha might be hard to persuade, sends Sudhammatthera back again. A second attempt.
Does he give him specific words to use this time? Like, say exactly this?
No, and this is really key. He doesn't give him a script. Instead, he gives him a teaching. A powerful teaching aimed right at the root of Sudhammatthera's problem.
Ah, a teaching moment. What's the focus?
The focus is on the dangers for monks, specifically the danger of developing possessiveness and pride. Pride about monasteries, residences, even their lay supporters.
Okay, so clinging to status.
Exactly. Buddha explains how these attitudes, they breed negative emotions, defilements like envy, conceit, and they block spiritual progress.
Makes sense. Does he give examples?
He does. He shares these really potent verses. I'll paraphrase a bit. Wishing for what isn't real about yourself. wanting precedence among monks, wanting authority in monasteries, wanting offerings from specific families,
Okay, wanting recognition and control.
thinking, let everyone, monks and lay people, think I did this great thing. Let them depend on me for every little task. These are the thoughts of a fool. Desire and conceit just grow stronger in him.
Wow. That's very direct. Let's break that down. Wishing for what is non-existent.
Well,
What's that referring to?
good question. In this context, it means wanting people to see you as having virtues or spiritual attainments you don't actually possess.
Like putting on a front, wanting the reputation without the reality.
Exactly. That lack of authenticity. Wanting to seem wise when you're still struggling inside.
Got it. And precedence among monks and authority in monasteries. That sounds like classic ego traps.
Absolutely. Wanting status, wanting to be seen as the most important, demanding deference. And authority, craving control over the place, the best rooms, having the final say, it breeds conflict.
Definitely. And then offerings in others' families and let them think this was done by me. That touches on the relationship with supporters.
Precisely. Wanting exclusive donations, wanting families to support only you instead of the whole community, and taking personal credit for things for the monastery's success rather than it being about service.
It's all about me, me, me.
Pretty much. And that last part, let them be subject to me in every task. That's just pure desire for control over everyone, monks and lay people alike.
Yeah, wanting everyone to run everything by you.
Yes. So the Buddha is pointing out these desires, this conceit, they're major roadblocks. They actually feed the negativity inside. This teaching hits right at why Sudhammatthera acted out.
It's so relevant, isn't it? Even outside a monastery, that desire for recognition, control, importance, it's pretty universal.
It really is. So how does Sudhammatthera take this teaching?
Does it sink in this time?
It seems to. The text says he reflects deeply on the Buddha's words, really gets the wisdom in them. He goes back to Siddha again, this time with the other monk accompanying him.
Okay, third attempt.
And this time, his apology is different. You sense it comes from a place of real understanding, genuine remorse.
And Citta.
Siddha accepts it graciously. And then in this really beautiful moment of humility,
Yes.
Citta himself asks Sudhammatthera for forgiveness, just in case he had caused any offense.
Wow. That's true reconciliation. Mutual respect.
A truly powerful moment. And for Sudhammatthera, this isn't the end of his story.
Oh. What happens to him?
Having really absorbed the teaching, having healed that relationship, he soon after attains arahatship.
No way. Full liberation.
Full liberation, along with special analytical knowledges. That conflict, that difficult lesson, became the very catalyst for his enlightenment.
That's an amazing turnaround. Incredible. So what about Citta? What does he do after all this?
Well, Siddha, even though he'd already reached the anagami stage without ever meeting the Buddha face to face,
Right.
he starts to feel this deep yearning. He wants to see the Buddha in person. He recognizes the immense value in that.
So he decides to make the journey.
Oh, he does more than just decide. He goes all out, organizes this huge pilgrimage to Sāvatthī.
Wow, huge.
500 carts, filled with provisions, everything needed, and he announces it publicly. Monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen, anyone who wants to see the Buddha, come with me, you won't lack anything.
Like a massive spiritual caravan. Who joins him?
The response is incredible. 500 monks, 500 nuns, and loads of lay followers sign up.
Wow. That shows the respect people had for Citta.
It really does. So we're talking about maybe 3,000 people on this journey.
3,000? How do you even manage that?
Siddha organizes it meticulously. Make sure everyone has food, water, necessities for the whole trip. It's a long journey, 30 leagues.
That's incredible logistics.
And then the story gets even more extraordinary. The texts say the deity's divine beings recognizing Siddha's incredible merit. They intervene. They create rest stops magically along the way, every league, and provide divine food and drink for everyone.
Divine catering. Seriously.
That's the story. It emphasizes that absolutely no one suffered any hardship on this long journey.
Okay, that's pretty miraculous. So they finally get to Sāvatthī.
After a month, yes, they arrive. And here's the thing. Siddha's 500 carts, still completely full.
He didn't need any of his own supplies because of the deities.
Apparently not. And the first thing he does on arrival, starts distributing gifts to people in the city. His generosity just continues.
Amazing. Did the Buddha know he was coming?
Oh yes, the Buddha forethought. He tells Ananda, his attendant, Siddha is arriving. And he predicts something specific.
What?
He says that when Siddha pays homage, a rain of 5-colored divine flowers will fall, covering a huge area, knee-deep. A specific royal measure is even mentioned.
A flower rain. Predicted. That must have caused a stir in Sāvatthī.
You bet. Word gets out. The city dwellers all gather along the road, bringing their own offerings. Everyone wants to see this great disciple, Citta, and witness the miracle.
The anticipation must have been immense. What was the arrival like?
It sounds truly grand. The 500 monks arrive first, then Citta comes with 500 laymen. He asks the laywomen to follow slightly behind, maintaining reverence and order.
Okay.
The crowd watches in total silence as Citta walks towards the Buddha down the main Buddha street. The text even says the earth trembled again.
Wow. As this noble disciple approached.
Yes, the crowd is just awestruck. Citta reaches the Buddha, enters the Buddha's radiant aura, and bows down right at his feet. Instantly, just as predicted. The rain of 5 colored flowers starts falling, knee-deep.
Incredible.
And you hear thousands of people shouting, "Sadhu! Sadhu! Well done! Excellent!" A massive confirmation of Citta's merit.
What an arrival. Does he stay long?
He stays for a month at Jetavana. And during that whole time, he continues his generosity, hosts the entire monastic community, the Buddha included, offering huge donations.
Takes care of everyone who came with him.
Everyone. Provides for them within the monastery grounds. And interestingly, it says even for his own personal needs, he just relies on the offerings that keep coming from deities and humans.
His merit is just generating this constant abundance.
It seems so. After a month, he goes to the Buddha to ask permission to leave.
Okay.
And he explains, look, thanks to all these divine and human offerings, I haven't even touched my own supplies from those 500 carts. I could stay a year and still not use them.
Good problem to have.
Right. So he asked the Buddha, could you designate a place where I could just store all these original goods?
What does the Buddha say?
The Buddha basically acknowledges this incredible situation, this overflow of merit. He tells Ananda to find Citta an empty space, a kapya bhumi.
A one.
A kapya bhumi. It's like a designated area within the monastery grounds, suitable for storing permissible goods for lay people. It's a formal recognition.
Got it. Acknowledging his unique situation.
Exactly. So Citta prepares to leave with his group. His cart's now presumably empty.
But knowing the story, I bet they don't stay empty for long.
You guessed it.
Yeah.
As they depart, deities and humans, moved by Citta's incredible service and generosity,
Yes.
they fill his empty carts with 7 kinds of precious jewels.
Jewels. Wow.
And he uses these newfound treasures to continue supporting the entire large group all the way back home.
That's just astounding. The flow of abundance just never stops for him.
It seems not. And Anda, seeing all this, the honor, the provisions, both coming and going, he's amazed. He asks the Buddha, why? Why does Citta receive such continuous honor and support?
Good question. What's the Buddha's explanation?
The Buddha explains it very simply. It's because Citta is faithful, he's devoted, he's virtuous, a lay follower like that. Wherever they go, they will naturally receive honor and support. It just happens. And he quotes a verse. The faithful one, endowed with virtue, possessed of glory and wealth, wherever they go, in that very place, they're honored.
This story is the perfect illustration of that verse.
Exactly. The meaning is right there in Citta's life.
But Ananda still wants to know more,
Yeah.
right? About the past causes.
Yes, he asks about Citta's past karma. What deeds led to such incredible merit?
And the Buddha tells him.
He does. He recounts a past life of Citta, way back during the time of a previous Buddha, Padumuttara.
Okay.
In that life, Citta made a powerful aspiration at that Buddha's feet. Because of that and other good deeds, he spent ages, like 100,000 eons, being reborn as a human or a god.
A long time accumulating merit.
A very long time. Then, during the time of the Buddha Kassapa, the one just before Gautama Buddha,
Yes.
he was born as a hunter.
Mhm.
But even then, he performed a really significant meritorious act.
What did he do?
He came across a monk deep in meditation. He was so inspired, he prepared special food and offered it to the monk, along with flowers. He also made offerings to other monks, too.
So an act of great generosity.
Yes. And crucially, while making that offering, he made a specific aspiration. He wished that in all his future lives, he would always receive abundant offerings, and that a rain of 5 colored flowers would fall for him.
There it is, the flower rain aspiration.
Exactly. The Buddha explains that that specific past act, that offering, that aspiration was the direct cause for all the amazing things Citta experienced in this life.
The flower rain at his birth, the flower rain when meeting the Buddha, the constant offerings, even the carts being filled with jewels.
All traced back to that meritorious deed and powerful wish from a past life.
Wow. What an absolutely incredible story, tying everything together like that. It really drives home so many key ideas, doesn't it? Ego, generosity, cause and effect.
Absolutely. You see so clearly the destructive side of ego with Sudhammatthera initially, the suffering it causes himself, the conflict it creates.
Mm.
But then you also see the power of humility, the willingness to listen to wisdom, to seek reconciliation, and how that led him to the ultimate goal, arahatship.
Such a contrast. And then Siddha, just this unwavering devotion, this incredible selfless generosity.
And the result, these extraordinary blessings, this recognition, this constant flow of support, it really makes you think about the impact of our actions, even small ones, and the attitudes behind them.
Long-term consequences rippling out through time.
It truly does. It highlights how vital it is to, notice those ego flares, to work on misunderstandings, and the incredible value of living generously and humbly.
So maybe for you, listening now, just take a moment to reflect on this. How might these principles we've talked about, the dangers of ego, the power of giving, the importance of making amends, how might they apply in your own life, in your relationships, your challenges?
Yeah, it's definitely food for thought, something worth exploring more, perhaps, within the wider teachings.